Welcome back to another episode of Will It Racecar. If you're new here, click on the playlist in the top right to catch up with our 24 Hours of Lemons build, a 1964 Plymouth Valiant. For everyone else, here's a quick recap. Last time, you watched us install a push-button ignition and discover that our motor was totally gunked up, which enabled us to be complete idiots and replace our engine oil with Dawn soap in order to degrease it from the inside out. If you haven't seen that yet, click on the link in the upper right, because it was a wild ride. But on today's episode, we're going to gain a whole 2 horsepower by swapping our gunky motor out for one with a shiny chrome valve cover. So let's jump right in. The first step to gaining granny-inspiring levels of power was to take the hood off and raise the car up to gain access to the transmission and driveline. We removed the transmission pan and drained the fluid in order to prevent leakage. The Valiant has never liked to shift well, and removing the pan gave us 3 indicators of why that might be. There was very little fluid in it.
That was all the fluid?
The fluid that was there smelled bad.
It doesn't smell good either.
Since we didn't do a full trans fluid change, it's likely very old. And lastly, the bottom of the pan was as pearlescent as Ice Cube 64 Impala.
Oh yeah, see the pearl?
Look at all the gray. Oh my god, that was all metal right there.
My dad's a beer half full kind of guy, so he insists that.
It could just be regular wear and tear. That's not why it was slipping.
But I don't think so.
You think so?
I'm hoping it was just low on fluid.
After some inconclusive debate,
I wonder how many miles this has on it.
243,976.
we had to get back to pretending to know what we're doing, so I grabbed the
Pew 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 maker.
joined the special forces,
First person shooter.
Bravo 6, going dark.
and rationed bolts like I was the US government during the Great Depression.
Rationing them? What are you doing?
Oh, you're ballsy. All right, take them all then.
I ain't scared. Training for NASCAR. Oh, nobody heard that.
With the pan back on, the next step was to lower the car so that I could put it in,
Neutral.
and Wes could get the bell housing bolts off.
Watch me. You can see that the frame rail's been.
Is it?
So look at that right there.
Nah, I think that's factory. Yeah, no, it's factory. I can see it.
How about the cracking?
What cracking? Where? That's factory, dude. That's gonna be fine.
We got to work on bolting everything, and I failed a test of manliness.
God.
That's what I was saying. That's why I moved on to a different bolt. I got it. Come on. My manly strength, baby. I got this.
My wrist hurts.
Wonder why.
For me to know. Oh, come on, Hercules.
Hold on.
Wow.
Am I going the right way? Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's left.
I have that. Well, I'm not giving you all the glory. Get out of here.
All right, you do it.
I'll let you use your little muscles and you're like, dude.
Less work for me, dude.
Wes passed the manly test by cheating with leverage.
Leverage. Something my dad taught me.
That's something Orlando Bloom taught me.
With the right leverage and the proper application of strength, the door will lift free.
I don't know if I can fit this back here.
I can do it with a wrench. Oh, not a ratcheting wrench.
No, too thick. Story of my life, baby.
We finished removing all the bell housing bolts and raised the car back into the air, only to realize that we forgot to put it in neutral.
We forgot to put it in neutral.
Neutral.
We lowered the car back down, clicked it into neutral, and raised it once again. I got to work taking the driveline out, and my name isn't Taylor for nothing, because I had to shake it off. I asked for something I think is only available in Nevada,
Give me that nut.
and Wes, well, see for yourself.
Damn, I'm good. Halves, baby.
Nice.
Halves. Let's make a mess.
We finally got the driveline out, and we're so excited that we filmed an impromptu chase scene and briefly admired our handiwork.
Oh, look at that shiny new gas tank. I know what I got. No low ballers.
But our elation didn't last long, because we had made a horrible mistake.
So our mistake is that we didn't remove the torque converter bolt, so when we're trying to drop this transmission, it's binding, which is a massive problem, and because we've taken out the starter, we can't bump the friggin' motor over to move the flywheel and get the torque converter bolts out. So we're gonna try to slam a wrench in there and hope it's good.
Right, because we can access these two and maybe the third one through the starter hole, but there's one over here that's kind of hidden. And I don't know if there's enough room to back it out between the flywheel and the back of the engine.
But we're gonna try.
Much frustration later.
We're just going to lower the car again, put the starter back on, and bump it over until we can get those torque converter bolts out. Because we tried a whole bunch of things like idiots because we were being lazy, and it's now dark, you can see it.
Right.
We've wasted a bunch of time. We're just gonna do it right, drop it, bump it over, get the torque converter bolts out, and we'll see you in a bit. We think it's finally time to get this transmission down. We've overcome all the obstacles so far that we caused.
Right, our obstacles that we created.
And we're just about ready to drop it.
Go to the dance over here, what's happening? And just like that, it looks like it's coming down.
I'm so happy about this.
Boom!
With the transmission removed, we dropped the Valiant so that we could finally pull the engine.
Alright guys, so I think this is our third attempt at trying to take it out. We took the radiator loose, fan shroud loose, the transmission line's loose, and we're gonna try to lift it up.
We took all those loose.
Take it all loose, there's a lot of loose stuff.
Motor's out.
Look at the soap was coming out
Oh
of
my god.
the spark plug holes.
How is this even running still? This is like me after a Saturday night.
We were halfway there, but before we could drop the new engine in, we had to weld up the holes in our firewall, because according to Lemons, it's supposed to keep the fire out. So I brought out the Valiant's old gas tank and had Sarah cut some patches out of it. This was her first time using any power tools, so I'll let the footage speak for itself about how that went. With new confidence, she tried again and did great.
My first cut.
How does that feel?
Pretty good. It looks like a house.
Nice. It's so cute.
She rounded the plugs on the bench grinder, and with that, it was time to weld them on. Sarah was very excited to weld for the first time, so I gave some pointers like I'm actually qualified to do that.
You need more penetration. This is how you know that you were too far away, because the wire got this far before it arced.
She couldn't seem to weld the area she was supposed to.
We're not on the edge. We're hitting the magnet.
Oh no.
You're still not on the edge. You just hit the middle of the thing.
And kept saying that she couldn't see.
I can't see.
Yeah, welcome to welding.
Turns out I was the dummy because her helmet was off, so she really couldn't see.
Who's the small brain now?
We remedied that and learned that she's a better welder than I am, which is not saying much.
You know what, Sarah? I think you're doing a killer job.
Thank you.
Actually,
I am a prodigy.
good shit. Proud of you.
Thank you.
After her prowess was praised, she left me to finish up the rest of the patches. The next morning, I prepped the engine bay for paint, which meant alternating between pressure washing and applying Easy Off oven cleaner. Thanks for the recommendation, Chris, it worked out great. Then I painted the engine bay a monstrous red for an extra 12 horsepower. Eventually, you'll understand the true reason why I did this, but for now, I'll just say that our livery will eat our competition alive. With the bay painted, it was just about time to drop this new motor in. But first,
We need to put a baffle in this.
because these old Slant-6s are notorious for having oiling problems. You can see that without a baffle, under acceleration and deceleration, oil sloshes from front to back in the pan, which slows down the crank's momentum somewhat and leaves the oil pickup dry, resulting in a loss of horsepower and premature wear. With a simple baffle, we can keep the oil where it needs to be, as you can see in the animation. So once again, I brought out the Valiant's old gas tank and had somebody else do the work for me. Sure is a rough life being the cameraman. After the metal was cut out, we split the sheet in half, bent it to the right shape, tacked it to the oil pan, and cleaned the soot off my terrible welds.
So we're ready to put the new engine in the car, but we need to steal some hardware off of this first. So we need the hardware off of the intake and exhaust manifolds because we're gonna reuse those. We need the carburetor, we need the fan, and a couple other miscellaneous items. And then next time you see us, we'll be plopping it in, hopefully.
It took us 2 days to swap the accessories because I kept shearing bolts off. But we persevered and we're finally ready to drop the new engine in. But before we do that, let's have a little bit of B-roll. Lowering the engine in was the smoothest part of the whole process. We made sure not to rip any wires or smash any lines, and bam, it was in. As we raised the car for what we hoped would be the final time, we knew that greatness was within reach. Memories of our journey here came rushing back to us, and we said a quick prayer for the engine that had gifted us such good times. We tightened the motor mounts, and with that, the new engine was installed. Unfortunately, we can't start it up for you yet, because the starter bolts to the transmission and we've run into some compatibility problems with our new one. Like Wigwam Jones warned us a couple videos back, the new shifter linkage is incompatible with our push-button shifter. At the time, I pulled a Wes and said, "It'll be fine," but it was not fine. We tried swapping valve bodies between the transmissions, but that didn't work, and while we could bolt the old transmission to the new engine with an adapter ring, we would rather use the new one, since it's in better condition and therefore more likely to hold up to 24 hours of abuse. Unfortunately, that means that we have to cut a hole in the floor for our new shifter, which will take a while to get here. Next episode, we're taking a break from the transmission debacle, and our buddy Matt is coming over to help us install a roll cage so that we can finally get our fender back on and our door welded up. So make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on so that you don't miss it. See you next time, and as always, you are awesome.